Hey guys, it's Richard Rose here, and welcome back to Mushy Monday, where we play a cute, cozy game, and we're going to pick up right where we left off with Our Life Now and Forever. I hope you're having a wonderful time while you're watching this. And for those who are new here, again, my name is Retro Rose. I play a variety of games, whether it's scary, horror, visual novel, cute and cozy, and just any indie games that I just happen to come across. So don't forget to like and subscribe and to push the notification bell so I can bring you guys more content. But besides that, let's get back to the story. 1 second. The boys' club had a little group talk afterwards, but that part was too quiet for you to hear. It ended with Autumn shooting off his thumbs up, so things must have been a-okay. And so the event resumed more carefully this time. Baxter caught another nut, then a few good more after that. His palm gradually filled with cashew chunks, which was not easy to pull off. But then the unbelievable happened. One of the nuts dropped directly into Darren's gaping mouth. Darren was so surprised something hit his tongue that he coughed and spat the cashew out. That didn't diminish the glory of the feat. In fact, it only proved for sure that he'd done it. You couldn't make that out even from the top of the bridge. All eyes were on Darren again, though for entirely different reasons than a minute ago. Meanwhile, his gaze had silently gone up to you. The nut he caught was one of yours. You stuck your tongue out in response. Baxter and Autumn crowded around the champ, slapping his shoulders and ruffling his hair. This was technically a competition against each other, a competition against each other, but if one of them was triumphant, it was a victory for the entire club. Darren grinned at the attention, breathing hard from exertion. His cheeks and the spot where Autumn's face had smacked into his chin were all red. Still, the bag wasn't empty. Tamarack didn't declare this was over yet. This would be the last hurl. And despite the chaos below, you and Tamarack worked together in perfect rhythm. Yeah, we worked in perfect rhythm. Soon the bag that had been so stiff it could hardly close was left barren. Only a few broken bits and salt dust remained in the fold of the plastic. Now, I'm a cashew girly. I like some peanuts, but I love me some honey roasted cashews. Those is delectable. Tamarack brushed her hand together and made the call. That's all the cashews. That stamped out the excitement quicker than when the first nut hit the ground. Autumn bent forward like a sagging bag of nuts. His head hung low and his arms dangled down in front of him. It couldn't have been more exaggerated show of disappointment. You could make it out clearly even from the way up there. On the flip side, the mastermind of the event was lighter than air. It was great. Tamarack plopped both of her elbows on the stone railing. She propped up her cheeks in her palms. It made her wide smile all squished, and it got her face messy with cashew crumbs. She didn't care about either. The boys' club is pretty funny. Remember when they all fell down? Only and Opa are going to hear all about this. Tamarack rested there, giggling and tapping the back of her heels together. This was until her attention was taken by one of the funny boys club boys. Hey, meet us at the stairs. Autumn stuck one arm towards the spot. He used the other hand to cup his mouth. We're going to eat the other snacks. Coming. News of new activity made Tamarack bounce in celebration. She was energized for the next bit of fun. Yeah, snacks. Tamarack shoved the ransacked baggie from her top overall pocket, donned her backpack, and skipped across the bridge. She wouldn't litter, that was for sure. You returned to the world below the bridge with her. With treats at the ready and the entire group regathered on the steps nestled into the hillside of the valley, 3 kids settled down. The shortest one at the highest point, going up in size and down in level from there. Tamarack had come from the top, so she didn't go too far towards the ground. Autumn took the lead for his club and sat on the step directly under her. Darren was on the spot behind Autumn. Baxter, however, only leaned his shoulder against the cobblestone wall. You sat in his exact spot same step next to Tamarack. He sat in the same step next to... Exact same step as Tamarack. Tamarack excitedly squeezed next to you on the mossy slab. You sat together at school, you were together throwing nuts, and you sit together right there too. Your seat was a little damp and a whole lot hard, but it was great to finally not be on your feet. You'd walk through the whole town, explored a special place, and were standing there the entire Cashew off the bridge game. Autumn casually hung his legs over the side of the stairs. Darren pulled a knee up near his chest while the other leg was resting across the step. Tamarack planted her feet onto Autumn's spot. She bumped him playfully with her boots. I gotta say, Autumn pointed a finger in the air and calling the latest meeting of his club. Even though Tamarack and you still weren't members, you had a really good idea there, Tamarack. Smiling sweetly with her hands in her lap, Tamarack sincerely appreciated the praise. Thanks, Autumn. However, Mr. Autumn Lynn might have initiated the discussion, but Tamarack brought it down to business. Who's the winner? We're all winners. He offered the idea optimistically, or maybe hopefully was the better word. In the end, Autumn was the only one who never imagined it to get anything. No, his hopes were flatly denied. Littering in the forest and soft-hearted ideas of not choosing a single winner were two things Tamarack couldn't stand by. Somebody has to win, but who counts as winning? What counts as winning? Oh, that's a tough call. Baxter had the most, but Darren did something pretty crazy. That should count for one more than one catch. It's your game, Tamarack. Make up a point system. She crossed her arms and squeezed her knees together, showing the serious effort she was putting into thinking. Tamarack sat like a round nut waiting to be cracked. And what broke through was a fresh, devious smile, even more twisted than the one she came with the game to begin with. If you caught it with your mouth, that's more points than catching a lot with your hands. But it doesn't count if you spit it out. Wow. Darren's spine went rigidly straight in an instant before scrunching back down more than ever. He croaked defeatedly. This had gotten him more ruffled than when he hacked a cashew. Baxter wins. Darren's fuzzy black gloves were balled into harmless-looking fists. He must have wanted to argue that his effort should count for something, but he was unable to put those words together right to a girl's face. That had to be exactly why Tamarack made the rules unfair against him. Baxter chuckled under his breath. Clever. So the victor was crowned, and he gave his short acceptance. Congrats to Baxter. Though Baxter acted as if he didn't care, a tiny cashew crumb if he won or lost based on Tamarack's made-up rules that she had decided on after the game was already over. Darren continued to pout in his nook the whole while. Thankfully for him, he had a pal who never let things stay sad for long. At least we can all agree who got the last me. Autumn shifted from angling for a no-win situation to confidently accepting his status at the bottom rung. That plan succeeded where his nut-catching strategy failed. It made Darren faintly smile. Autumn gave a wink, not stopping there. The other guys are taller. That gave you the edge, don't forget. There was laughter and lighthearted smiles up and down all along the steps. It was just one of those days where everything was funnier than it was frustrating no matter what. Okay, Snack King, enjoy your spoils. Snack King gets to pick first. There were many unknown rules and regulations for the status of Snack King. You were learning a lot. Autumn loudly stretched open the handles of the bag, holding its delicacies out to Darren. He took his beef jerky. That was the last thing needed to make him fully content again. Pass me the gummies. Baxter got his treat as requested. Then Autumn moved on to you. Rose? I kind of want my onion ring chips. Autumn secured his chips last before shuffling the corner bag into the crevice on the step. Having your own special treat that you bought with your very own money was exciting. You couldn't even guess how long ago you've gotten it from the store and were more than ready to finally dig in. You tossed a few pieces into your mouth and immediately felt reward of your choices. It was great. The group who planned the food detour easily settled into the snack-sharing semicircle. Baxter had bent over the stairs to be closer to one sitting down. No boy was empty-handed, and none of them were limited to just the treats they chose. Autumn and Darren's gloves got completely coated in powdery snack bits in record time. It was then that Tamarack rejoined the conversation. She had been quietly sifting through her fully stocked messenger bag while Autumn had been dividing up treats. Here, it's what I got. And what she got was a yellow triangle the size of a chocolate bar. Thought it wasn't chocolate, it was a chocolate. It was a bright colored block. made Autumn giggle. We're lucky you didn't chuck that bag big thing at us. Are you sure? It would have been easy to catch. I'm sure, all right, not catching anything. Darren couldn't help interrupting the back and forth with dubious curiosity. What is it? Fig cookies? What the mess are fig cookies? I'm curious. Oh, oh, those. Like the little Newton bars. Oh, I had no idea. Yeah, I have never heard of such a cookie in my life. Tamarack tore open the wrapper with gusto. Then she slid out a light tray, couch cushion looking cookies. It was flat on the top and bottom. It had dark brown filling in the center, so Newton bars. Fig cookies, kind of gross. You point at it eagerly. Eagerly, you were keen on giving it a try. Here, take a piece. Tamarack pinched the top and pressed down on it. The cookie was soft kind, more like a snack cake. It swooshed and bent until a chunk separated without a snap. Then she placed it in your waiting palm. Autumn looked up at the latest exchange of goods, and he scratched his cheek. Could I try it too? Sure. Thank you. Tamarack passed a small section of the spongy cookie on down to Autumn. I try a fig too. Another simple request came in before she finished pulling all her fingers away from Autumn. Tamarack took a second to yank off a corner and stuff it in her mouth before nodding. She whittled the cookie away even more to share with Baxter. He tossed it in his mouth, and just like that. Okay, Darren, you gonna take a piece? Only 1 inch square was left of the bar then. Her snack almost has gotten finished faster than any other. You take it. She hadn't said his name, but her eyes were set directly on Darren, 2 steps lower. He didn't react, apparently. If you didn't address something, he wasn't there. Or he might not have even realized she was talking to him. Darren had changed his sitting position to take on the appearance of a folded chair. Not only were both his legs pulled up, but his arms were over his knees, and his face was lowered down into them. Autumn gave the back of Darren's blonde head a nudge. Anybody home? Without a word, Darren tilted his head like he had during the game. Tamarack was already leaning over to dangle the last bit of cookie above his head. He carefully reached out and plucked the gift from Tamarack's hold as if he was plucking a real fig off a branch. It made sense in a way. Tamarack's name was the type of tree. Thanks. Oh, he looked so sad. Darren curled his fingers closed around his new cookie. He kept staring upward at Tamarack and had to be a record for the longest time he had eye contact with her. Oh, you can have a piece of beef jerky. Everybody can. Thank you, but I don't want that. Oh. Before he could get really awkward, Tamarack's attention sparked on a different idea. It worked out for Darren, though. She hadn't done it smooth her bluntness over. Tamarack was like that. She had a lot of energy. I have something else, too. And the something else, too, was a bare baggie of cashew dust taken from her overalls. Seeing her bring that out now was more confusing than when she pulled it from her bag on the bridge. Tamarack snickered at the loss she felt at the group at. Tamarack snickered at the loss she'd left the group at in her own secret scheming. She poured the scraps into her hand and returned now completely empty bag into the pocket it came from. Tamarack shot one of the tiny pieces right at Autumn. Autumn's defenses kicked in, and he smacked it before it could hit his face. What was that about? You got one. Cashew that I threw. Autumn gave a lopsided smile and ate the little piece. Yes, I did, thanks. Tamarack was sweeter than any cookie. You held out your snack to the rest of the group. You wanted to turn to sharing. No, I like to share. You held out your snack to the rest of the group. You wanted a turn to share. A chorus of agreements followed. The group was more than happy to provide. Your choice of treats made rounds along the stairs. They filled their hands and stomachs with them. The conversation took a turn when Autumn chirped up with a question. So, what do you think? Of what? What else? He gave Tamarack a slick smile. Her attention was what he had been trying to grab. The club. Oh. And she didn't say anything else. That was okay. Autumn continued on himself. You've gotten to see what it's like, and it's pretty great, huh? You can still join if you wanna. You bob your head in agreement. Yes. Autumn gave the air a 1-2 punch. He'd imagined a real success that day. He was so proud to welcome you into the gang that neither of the existing members did anything that might have dampened their leader's mood. Even Darren, who hadn't wanted girls in the boys' club. Or it was possible that it wasn't about Autumn, or not just about him anyway. Maybe the two boys were okay with having you around after all. Or maybe the reason you'd been accepting of the official member of the boys' club. Only one person was left out of the loop. Tamara thought longer about the question than she had the first time Autumn invited her. She gave it a real consideration, but the answer wasn't different. No thanks. At least mostly. There had been development over the afternoon you'd experienced. Tamarack was quick to add in. I still like you, Autumn, and I like playing with Baxter and Darren. Really? Thanks. You do? Oh, look at Darren soften it up a bit. Autumn's left and right hand boys were amazed. Baxter in amused disbelief, and Darren in that he didn't have a single clue what to do. That was a surprise for her. As for you, you felt the same way about those boys. Autumn became a calming force on the little crowd, a steady rock against the winds of emotions, which was not unusual for him. You know, that's cool. I think it makes sense for you. It's the Tamarack way. That was the end of that for that day. And maybe forever. Autumn managed to be at peace not having everybody he knew in his official club. So you were partially a club and completely a group of kids hanging out at the bridge together. Autumn turned, trying to toss the cheesy chips into Tamarack's mouth, and she squeezed every time she missed and whooped whenever she didn't. Baxter rested along the wall, watching the game with semi-interest. He batted away shots that had misfired or bounced off of Tamarack. Darren nibbled on the last of Baxter's sour gummies. He was keeping score while Autumn and Tamarack kept their heads fully in the game. It was kind of like a picnic, except there was no blanket or basket, and it was a lot colder than what you'd usually imagine for a picnic. Thanks for showing me this place, Autumn, and thank you for making it fun, Tamarack. Best Saturday ever. Right? I told you. Nuh-uh, your plan was going riding bikes and bikes and bikes, and that's all you told us about. Well, at first, yeah, but it was my idea to do both things, both including coming here it counts. No, Tamarack cheered. There have been no compromising on that. Fine. Those two definitely did disagree on a lot of things, but it equally certain that they were friends in their own silly way. And they were your friends too. That day crossed the town into Treasure Chest's door. Up the mountain and across the bridge could only be described as an adventure, and you were going to remember it for a long time. Oh, that was cute. Okay, so that was moments, walks. Okay, I want to see what step 2 preview looks like. This demo includes the preview of step 2. Parts of the preview will be arranged in different final. Okay. Step 2 preview. Whoa. Do I need to change anything? I think I like my character as it is, as I am right now. Yeah. Let's stick to my color now. That's fine. Okay, cool. Rose Smith. I think I will update this because my nickname is Rose. No, Rose Smith. I can go by Rose. I'll keep that. I'm short. Yeah, still short. They, them, she, her. Yeah. Based it on pronouns. Miss Rose Smith. Yep. Oh, wow. Hair's a bit different now. I call my mama Okasan. Or, no, Ma. I mainly call her Ma. Choose a sticker. Oh, jeez. So we stuck with the mushroom. Oh, is that a different mushroom? I kind of want to stick with the mushroom we got. Welcome back to the tutorial. The childhood portion of My Life Now and Forever demo has come to its end. You're heading into the Grandland Teenhood. Before that happens, we need to note that the section of Step 2 included in this build isn't nearly as complete as the prior one scenes. What it has been included was picked to give general idea of what the lead character and status of life in Step 2, but it's not how this time period will start in the finished game. It skips ahead a bit to avoid spoiling certain elements to get a casual everyday conversation with Autumn and Tamarack sooner. The scene that are in the previews are also going to be expanded later in development. Also, parts will be taken out of these scenes and added to other events in Step 2 Prologue, so it flows more naturally. We had to include a lot of setup in the limited section. Hope you enjoyed the brief glimpse into the new growing up in Golden Grove. Fall settled over Golden Grove once again. The storybook-esque depiction of autumn went to the very root of the forest and the heart of the town, as the whole land glimpsed in its namesake color. It's been nearly 4 years to the day since you'd moved there, into the tan house with the white picket fence at the center of the cul-de-sac. The trees grew in taller and thicker. Ma got a chair for the porch, and the mailbox had to be replaced after an accident. But other than that, nothing much had changed with the outside of your home. One might have said the building was worse for wear after nearly 1,500 extra days of weathering in the elements, but for how old it already was when you got there, this was nothing. Nothing for a house pushing 40 anyway. 4 years of your life was closing in on the third of your existence, and that first third you could scarcely remember since you were a baby, then a toddler for most of it. So it worked out that nearly half of the memories you had kept were from right here in this house, in this neighborhood, in this town. You lived in this one place longer than anywhere. And I absolutely loved it. This was the perfect area to be in. No complaints, no changes needed. Golden Grove just needed to keep doing what it was doing, and life would be swell. You'd realize, even at 10 years old, that feeling had settled over you like a comfy blanket since the first fall. This place was home. You'd been down each path and road, even bush and trees entered all public accessibility buildings over hundreds of times. There was something indescribably precious about that. It couldn't be replicated. Though that didn't mean the world was static, there were shifts and rippled out, impacted your experience, but each one felt natural. The transition from seasons brought about an entirely different atmosphere. There were sights and sounds and feelings that could only happen during a few months before they were gone for a year. Other familiarities were lost to time for good, never to come back, but instead of their absence, to eventually become old in their own right. You knew that acorns were beginning to fall along with the leaves, and that Bob's barber shop on Main Street closed 8 months ago, and that every day there was a new rumor on what's going to replace it. Nothing concrete had been announced yet, but any day now for sure. Mrs. Beaumont had stubbornly convinced it to be a restaurant, an Italian restaurant, that the town needed one of those, she would insist. Yet that was less about what she thought would actually happen and more what she wished could happen. Circumstances were never as perfectly straightforward as the stuff that was the same and things that were different, or what you could be certain of and what you were believing in. You could have pieces of your world that had been ever present, something that hadn't gone away for a moment, yet right before your eyes it could stop being what you'd originally known. The example that came to mind that you had been imagining from the beginning was you left and next door neighbors. Autumn and Tamarack were the same people you seen basically every day for 4 years. No single one of those days that you decided they weren't Tamarack or Autumn anymore. Of course, they were always literally who they were. But after everything you'd learned and seen, from basic concepts of getting older and the two were pulling into certain directions little by little, it couldn't be caught looking back a week or a month. Still, if you pause to remember them from the first meetings and compare it to that to who you expected to encounter that day, you could see it clearly, starkly. They had changed. First, the companion of your youth, Minx Q. They didn't introduce themselves like that to people anymore. Whether the person could spell their name or not wasn't their problem. If someone didn't know that, they didn't know. Quay, and why should they care what a stranger believed about them? The only part of themselves that they make sure to spell out were their pronouns, they, them. Autumn was born and raised in Golden Grove, local through and through, and not merely any kind of kid in town. They were the ones to take center stage, the one to reach out. Autumn made themselves ever present in the minds and hearts of the community. No matter what Autumn said or did, every person they crossed paths with would be familiar with them as the gender they were assigned at birth. Autumn wasn't sure about what they identified with, but they said it definitely wasn't that. If they wanted to be free of the misconception, Clay had no choice other than to keep explaining again and again, person to person. They hated it. Going around introducing themselves in a way so people wouldn't immediately get it could pull things together was cute and everything when they were in elementary school. As a ninth grader, it was embarrassing. A lot of what Autumn believed in as a kid seemed to be just that now, kid stuff. And in the tippy top of their list of childish ideals was the very concept of trying. Quay stopped putting in effort with their classes. They started skipping ballet lessons and did not go out of their way to make others feel welcome. No, they rebuffed nearly anyone who dared to wish for time in their presence. If Quay didn't like someone, zero opportunities would be given for the opportunity to change. Despite going from the most approachable face in town to completely unavailable, Quay remained exceedingly popular in school. The chill that overtook their demeanor only to make them cooler, apparently. Oh wow. Starting from step 2, you can now manually see that Quay and Tamarack's dynamic towards you as well as your own dynamics for each of them. This includes the newly available jealousy meter, which will always begin as not jealous and must be manually changed if you like to add those aspects of your playthrough. You can also choose one character to be best friends with. Only one person can be your best friend, but you can be platonic best friends or best friends while crushing on the other. Being friends with one character signals you have a closer relationship to them than the other character. It doesn't mean you can't be friends with or crush on the other character, though. You can change best friends over the years, or even have no best friend at all. It's up to you. Wow. Sorry, I had to check something. Teamworking, teasing, doting, crushes. So, no, not jealous. Jealous over. I'll see. I don't mind. But that drama was nothing to you. If Clay didn't want to go above and beyond to be friends with everyone in the world, then they shouldn't have to. They could be snippier. They could be more sarcastic. So what? Quay meant a lot to you. They always had, ever since you were 10. Autumn made you feel like you mattered from the start and that you hadn't faded even when they closed themselves off to people more and more. You done what you could to be something beyond a fair weather acquaintance for them, and there you had it. Super cool. It was great having a friend, whether Autumn agreed or not, whether you were officially friends or not. They were important. Those were the thoughts you kept deep inside. You couldn't lie to your own heart, and you had a crush on him. That was what made it such a meaningful existence in your world. You were head over heels for them. When it came to Quinn themselves, you could never quite tell their feelings towards you. I would say he can't tell because of his demeanor, but I feel like he was flirting too. It was a mutual, as they had crush on you as well. Autumn did like you to some degree. They never speak of it, but you were not gonna assume that meant they had a crush on you. Now, second, the childhood best friend, Miss Tamarack Bayamon. She had become a young lady. Her reckless romps through the woods shifted into quiet nature walks, and neat clothes she carefully selected weren't suited for that kind of exploring anyway. And she was not okay with them getting full pockets like she was as a kid. She approached most things in life with great delicacy, like she was living in a world of glass, or less whimsical, as if she always walked on eggshells. Tamarack joined a music program during middle school and had played the cello ever since. Oh, that's such a beautiful instrument. I used to play the violin, a feat that required plenty of patience and a ton of sitting around. But all those new opinions, priorities, decisions didn't speak to any level of decisiveness on her part. It wasn't just the loss of pure wild abandon only someone too young to know better could have. Tamarack didn't have a shred of certainty she used to. Some days, in some ways, she could come across more like her almost 70-year-old grandparents than a girl, not even a quarter of her age. Then other moments, she leaned into typical teenage priorities more than anyone else in her class, and neither seemed to make a particular confidant. But bits and pieces were truly Tamarack, maybe all of them, maybe none. She had managed to convince most people that there was clearly a picture they could accept and understand as her, probably because she didn't understand herself either, or she couldn't bring herself to commit to what she didn't know. So 4 years on, and she had to blend into the harmony of this close-knit community. If Tamarack was in a room, odds were good, and she being the least acquainted person there. Whenever she went, Miss Bayamon carried herself with the presence of a visitor, never a regular. Yeah, we're still best friends and not jealous of. She's accepting, admiring, praising, teamworking, contesting. I would say accepting. But there were some truths that no one doubted. She could count on you, and you could do the same for her. You didn't care what the town thought. Tamarack was the greatest friend you'd had in your entire life. She wasn't some nobody. She was a little girl who threw paper plane at you the first time she ever caught sight of you. Tamarack and you went through being newcomers side by side. No matter how much time passed, no matter how much the two of you grew up, the promise you made to always be friends would not be broken. Together you make it through whatever future unknowns may face. You made a difference with your friends. Even more noticeable was the fact that you didn't change one bit. The differences with your friends were easier to grasp considering how you changed too. You used to be such a rule follower, now you're the opposite. And you still chatted a lot. You were more silent. Yeah, I'm a little more silent now. And you acted quite proper. You had behaved broadly like always. And typically you were mellow, nervous around Autumn, and Shirley around Tamarack. You were pretty shy in general. You still went by Rose among friends. You still by Rose among friends sometimes. I mean, yeah, that's why I was like, I wanted to change it. Everyone still called you Rose sometimes. Your mom called you Rose sometimes. Quinn called you Rose. Always called you Rose. Tamarack always calls you Rose. Anyways, that was a sinking further into your psyche than you should be going. You decided to, while shaking yourself out of a daze, you kind of had other things to be focused on at the moment. Oh, it looks so nice now. It was early morning on the school day. You finished getting changed in your room, and you stepped quietly down the stairs. Downstairs past multiple steps. You simply went down to the living room. Then you crossed the creaky floorboard and the lighter foot panel switched to a dark wood, and you officially entered the room. The place you had been living sort of a third member of the Smith family. It was only ways of being in long-time quirks, while still taking after the parent sibling it received. And this time you'd lived there. You added a few of your own kinks and scratches to the house. Some of the old furniture was replaced with brand new old furniture from the local antique store and thrift shop. You couldn't even try to understand which came from where. As Quinn once said, it wasn't like you could tell the difference between what was sold in those places. It was the same either way. Ancient. You were alone there in the living room in the entire house. Ma had left for work not long before then, right after you had eaten breakfast. She had a longer commute than you, and you didn't need your mom to be late in order to see you off to school, though she would have been tardy if you had wanted her there. Thinking of her, you felt she was your friend, as much of a parent Hanging out with mom was fun. You know, stuff's no longer great. Coexist with her. I would say we're a little more friendly. You and her were still Smith duo, taking life on as a team. In fact, that had only gotten truer as time went by, since you've gotten old enough to be more of an actual help to her. It was cool. I can kind of say this kind of speaks to my relationship with my mom. Like, not even just like, not to, I'm not getting like super personal, but it's like as a parent, like teaching your child things. Like, to my mother, I have a better understanding now of her as I'm getting older, because I understand that what she was teaching me as I was younger didn't just apply to me at that time. It applied to me at age 20, 25, 29, and 30, and so on and so forth. So it's like, when you were in a good place with your parent, you have to also look back at what they were trying to teach you if you have a healthy relationship with that parent, or you're working towards that, because I know everybody's situation is different. But you have to really look at what they were trying to teach you. And I really appreciate the things that she's taught me, because I've learned lessons that some folks in their 50s and 60s have yet to learn. So if you do have that kind of relationship with your mother, I'm very happy for you. Continue to allow that to grow as you grow with her, because it's life, and you're learning and she's learning you, because you both are growing and changing into different people, and you have to learn to accept those different places and different people y'all are growing into. And naturally, before Mom walked out the door, she hadn't forgotten to give her annual reminder: there's only one first day of the year, enjoy it. You giggled over Ma's typical Madness, while fully letting the little fact of reality sink in. There wasn't any normal day of school. It was the first day, and it wasn't a normal start of the new year either. It was the ninth grade. Oh my goodness. You were in high school, freshman. Ma impressed upon you what an accomplishment it was. If the learning system was a triathlon, you were out of the water, off a bike, lining up to begin the race. Your mom wasn't especially sporty herself, so she offered as an alternative that if it was a movie or a book, the third act would be just beginning, and it was the best part. For such as Ma hyped it up, your transition into the highest level of public schools wasn't as immense as it was for other 14-year-olds. Oh, we're 14. You could have attended Riverview Peak since sixth grade already, with its gold, black, and navy official colors, and below freshwater otter mascot. The district of Golden Grove was small enough that even middle school and high school shared a building. Wow. You felt good about that. You were well acquainted with the halls. You like to walk around there. Your 2 feet. You decided to walk rather than ride your bike. You decided to walk than ride your bike, yeah. Your wheels of choice were a bike. It was not the same bike you came into town with. You long outgrew the original. But it was the only bike of rides you wanted to use. So you've gotten around that was right for your size. The plan was to head to school on your own. There was a chance you ended up leaving at the same time as Autumn or Tamarack. You find Tamarack and Autumn first thing. You wanted the group to go together. They wouldn't leave without you. It have to be up to you. Quay only went out of their way to go with you if you were the one who asked them, and Tamarack sometimes liked to walk by herself. But for the first day, you were sure you could get along together for the trip. You packed your lunch, closed up your bag, and slung it over your shoulder. Then you went greeting a freezing autumn dawn, and you were instantly slapped by a howling rush of wind that got into the exposed silvering of your skin with what seemed to be heat-seeking precision. Spluttering and laughing, you fought to get the door that was shaking from the same gust locked behind you. Ma had honored you with a key on your own 12th birthday. When you felt the telltale click, you backed away. Your nostrils filled with a distant scent of rain when you crossed over the stone path. Had it come and gone when you were asleep, or was it still gathering the weight it needed to fall? It was impossible to tell. You pushed open the gate, separating your yard from the neighborhood at large. As soon as you placed your foot on the cul-de-sac, you were hit with another big shock. You were hit with a bigger shock to the system with a chilling breeze. Oh, she's so cute. Oh, she's so cute. Tamarack popped out from behind the bush border of your house, and like it's suddenly 4 years ago, and you were meeting her for the very first time. The main flaw that Pearson that she wasn't done had done on purpose, Rose. If anyone's going to startle by the jump scare, it should have been you, but there was Tamarack. Her eyes were wide, her arms taut to her sides. Though that was definitely Tamarack, by her nickname. There was no Budget. That was Tamarack. I didn't notice you come out until I heard the gate. I would have been more awkward if you caught me trying to hide in the bush, so I had to, surprise? Sorry. You could only stare. It's too much. You laugh. What on earth? Come on, Tamarack. It's not that embarrassing, she said encouragingly. Did you find a good treasure down there? Did you find any good treasure down there? She bit her lip bullseye. Tamarack winkled her nose at you, seeing the humor in your situation as much as she tried to pretend otherwise. It's not funny. She gave her friendly grin. All the good things you got to enjoy living in Golden Grove, she was the top of the list. Tamarack Bamon couldn't be described as anything other than a good thing, unless you'd say she was an amazing person, which is true. It went quiet then for a second, too long to be normal. A frog? There's a frog right there, under the hedge. Your arms remained glued to your torso, but she pointed the finger towards the ground. It was close to the road. I wanted to make sure it didn't die or anything. A lot of frogs have declined in populations. Cool, I want to look. You darted closer, zeroing in on the spot she pointed out. Oh, you want to see it? You can. It's your bush, it's not my frog, she added with a new brightness of her voice. It rang with a note of challenge. Not needing to be told twice, you went around to the side of the house and took Tamarack's place in the bush. You got down into the dirt to see the frog up close and personal. Tamarack stayed behind you, but she leaned her face toward the branches, pressing her palm over her legging-clad knees so she could manage to take a second peek. It was there, exactly as promised. Big eyes, wet skin, long legs, a frog. Honestly, it's pretty cute. You wordlessly inclined your chin, gaze trained on the tiny frog. It was this nice moment to share with her. Had you thanked the frog for bringing you both a bit of joy. That scared me. You two gawking giantess, the last of the frog's patience at that point. After one meager croak, the speckled brown creature hopped away. Luckily, it inched towards the forest rather than the street. Tamarack was satisfied. The declining population wouldn't take another hit today. You and her straightened yourselves up. A very successful frog viewing. Tamarack scrambled away, nearly falling over in the process. She couldn't have run faster if she'd been the one under an unknown giant inspection. Sorry, I was way too close. You straightened yourself, holding her stunned stare. Forget it. A steady exhale at Tamarack's mouth. She grasped at regaining some kind of composure. Even the breathing lasted just long enough for her to inhale one more time. Then Tamarack twisted her torso, head in the opposite direction to check her back, and switching between glances over the left side and the right in a cycle, she double-checked that she didn't get dirty. Do I look okay? You look perfect. You look amazing. You look amazing. No, I don't, but thanks. And Tamarack doubtfully offered a hug, raising her arms halfway up. It was pretty delayed to be part of a greeting, but she wanted to make the attempt anyway. You threw yourself around her, you lifted your arms, her to bring it in, pretending to be glad that you accepted her embrace. As you leaned in, she did the same. Your outstretched arms threaded together into a cozy knot. Tamarack's hold was soft and sweet, just like hers. She rocked you back and forth, and that made you giggle. She lost some of the enthusiastic squeeze, but remained one Golden Grove's best huggers. When it was over, Tamarack grinned wide. Oh, she has braces. Oh, sorry. It's so cute. Ever since Tamarack had... I just called it. I didn't even read that yet. Ever since Tamarack had those braces put on, she almost never smiled with her teeth. You knew how self-conscious she had become about them. But that rule went away when it was safe, when it's just you and her. Happy first day at school. It was a thoughtful attempt. Tamarack didn't have the acting skills to sell you on the idea that she believed that what she was saying, but she knew you actually believed that. Your brows twitched. It's a happy day, Tamara. Hey, at least there's only. Well, no matter what, there's only one first day at school, you said encouragingly. Oh, thank you, Miss Smith. Finally, she was seeing the potential you could. Tamara perked up even more when an idea of her own came to mind. And we could sit together at lunch and share our stuff and pretend like we're on a picnic, so I'm so glad there's only one break hour. A warm spread in your chest. You wanted this to be a good time, not only for you, but for Tamarack too. And now that seemed like a reality. You two would hopefully make the most of this new year start. You couldn't help but pause. There was acknowledgement under wonderful. It was Tamarax was still here. Living with her Omi and Opa was meant to be temporary, but it had been nearly half a decade. Her parents did keep in touch. They visited sometimes more or less. That inconsistency meant there was no sense of normalcy around them, no matter how many months went by. As soon as things were calm enough that you thought Tamarack was going to be in Golden Grove forever, her parents would come in so re-involved that it was like they'd be packing a bag any day. You lived with the thorn stuck in your chest, one that dug in deep with each passing season no matter what, and ever so often got jabbed by the unexpected. Maybe that had something to do with why Tamarack came across a little out like an outsider. People were holding their breath around her, bracing for when it could be a false alarm, for when she'd be gone. And then you knew for sure Tamarack struggled with seeing her own presence in the light that she told you about. Well, I'm going to go ahead and cut it here, guys. Thank you for joining me on this Mushy Monday, and I hope to see you next Monday. So we are going to probably finish out Our Life Now and Forever until that update comes in. So I can't wait to bring you more visual novels and other games that I have in store. So I'll catch you next time. Bye.